Asked me if I was going to watch the Michael Jackson documentary and analyze it. And originally, I was uncertain of whether or not I would because I know how ride or die Michael Jackson fans are. And I'm not particularly familiar with him. That was a little bit before my time. I knew about Neverland, the allegations. I knew that he was found not guilty. I knew about his death, but that was pretty much it. Nothing like beyond that. And I'll be honest, my analysis is going to be based solely on the documentary, so be a little bit gracious. But I figured I don't really have a dog in this race, so I can probably be a little more objective than another individual. So I'm going to get started. For those who don't know, I have a degree in forensic psychology and a background in law enforcement. I'm going to be as fair and objective as I can be in this analysis. I'm probably still going to make a lot of people mad, but whatever, we're going to try. So, first and foremost, when I watch Michael talk and when I watch him interact, he still comes across as somebody very juvenile in nature, right? And at the time that this is taking place, he's about 45 or 46 years old. So that in and of itself comes across to a lot of people as weird. They talk about in the documentary how a lot of people thought that he was just this really weird guy. And my speculation here, right, I don't know about his childhood, I don't know a whole lot about his family, is that he really wants to hang on to this childhood joy, this childhood innocence, because he probably didn't have that much of a childhood to begin with due to his celebrity at such a young age. So I can understand his desire to have, a Ferris wheel, have a playground, have a zoo, be more whimsical, things like that. This emotional regression, though, did not do him a lot of favors because I think his ability to connect with children more than adults, while genuine in nature to a certain extent, is something that you have to be aware of because it got him in a lot of hot water. Quite frankly, blanket statement here. This was all avoidable, but Michael lacked the foresight to really understand how bad that this could all go for him because he really put himself in a position where at some point in time, in some way, shape, or form, a case like this was going to happen. It's basically inevitable. I'm going to say something that is going to be off-putting to a lot of people, but bear with me. The Michael Jackson case, this in particular, was basically Epstein before Epstein, Diddy before Diddy, Weinstein before Weinstein. This was like the first major sex scandal with children that America had really seen. And so at the time, America was really grappling and grasping with this idea that something like this could be possible. I think if this were tried today, there would be a lot of things that are different because at this point in time, we're kind of used to it, right? But we have to acknowledge the similarities between Michael's case and Epstein's case, right? Michael, I will say, was found not guilty, okay? So I'm not saying he's guilty because the courts have decided that's not accurate. But again, the similarities are off-putting and they should be acknowledged, right? You have Neverland Ranch, okay? You have Epstein Island, you have Zorro Ranch, etc. You have two people, very influential, very famous. Mind you, Michael and Epstein are pictured together in the Epstein files. Make of that what you will. Now, on top of that, mass media coverage, okay? Multiple victims, people being accused of lying, people being accused of grifting. Like, it's really weird how similar both of these cases are. Now, do I think personally that Michael is a facetious, demonic, evil individual the way that Epstein is? No, I don't. However, we have to acknowledge that the overlap is concerning. And if you've been on my channel for a while, whether that's here or YouTube, you'd know that I had made a full deep dive, I think it's about an hour and 10 minutes, on grooming, discussing that basically the behavior we see from Michael and the behavior we see from like Epstein is grooming. Now, not all child grooming is for sexual reciprocation. However, when you look at the way both of these men behaved, it is child grooming. Michael did groom children. Both Michael and Epstein, right? Very influential, lots of money, had poor families come to them, families with broken homes, lack of fathers. They bought families gifts. They bought children gifts. They spent alone time with children. They had these kids come to their respective properties for vacations, for getaways. Like, there is child grooming. I know that's going to make people mad, but that's just a fact. Like, it happened. So, do I think that Michael gained something from this? Yes. Do I think it was sexual in nature? Not necessarily, I do not. I don't think that he is a pedophile, but I do think that his behavior with children was inappropriate for what it was. What would he get out of grooming children? Well, he gets to relive and experience that joy. If he's in that emotionally regressive state where he is behaving more childlike, it is going to be easier for him to connect with children than it is adults. He's going to be able to experience childlike wonder with kids because adults, if he's riding on a Ferris wheel with them, like, it's not going to be the same. So I don't think that the reciprocation for him was sexual. I just think that it filled whatever emotional deficit it was that he had. And on top of that, a lot of people have really pointed to the interview with Gavin and Michael and the body language there. And one thing that I think people are forgetting to keep in mind is that Gavin had cancer. And the only reason Gavin survived cancer, according to this documentary, is because Michael was able to finance it. So you have to keep in mind that this is a man, in Gavin's eyes, who saved his life. So there is going to be a type of affection and reverence there that may not be sexual in nature. At the bottom line, though, it is weird that he has children sleeping in his bed. I don't think that we should really be arguing that as a point. And the fact that he openly admitted that was just Michael shooting himself in the foot. I have never shared a bed with my aunts or my uncles. I've never shared a bed with my grandparents past the age of 2. It's just not something you do. So why the hell would you be sharing a bed with a multi-millionaire man at his private ranch in his bedroom in this gigantic ass bed? It doesn't make sense. It's weird. It never should have happened. Again, he put himself in a spot where something like this was eventually going to take place. Now, I think the jury at the end of the day did a good job in their verdict because I do think there was a lot of reasonable doubt. I think the prosecution absolutely sucked ass. But another thing that I think Michael really lacked foresight on is the type of people he was going to be bringing into this environment with children. We have to remember Frank. We have to remember the magazines where these movies were being ordered. It's very easy for Frank to say, oh, I was ordering those for Michael. Do I think that he was? No, I think he was ordering those for himself and he was using Michael as a scapegoat. But again, predators know what environments they can weasel their way into and then fulfill their weird sexual needs. If Michael wasn't doing background checks and wasn't really keeping an eye on everybody that was working for him, children were going to be exploited, even trafficked on that property. That's why it happens in churches all the time, why it happens in athletics all the time. This type of stuff is very common because predators know where to go to get access to victims. So even if Michael himself was not a sexual predator towards children, he could be aiding and abetting to a certain extent because he's not doing his due diligence to check the people that are working for him. So at the end of the day, do I think that Michael is a pedophile? No. Do I think that he behaved inappropriately with children to fulfill his emotional needs? Yes. Do I think all of this could have been avoided had he been intelligent in the way that he handled this? Yes. Because after the first time that you have a family sue you, claiming that this happened, you should never, ever, ever be caught with children unsupervised by another adult again. It just shouldn't have happened. There's no reason for it. And I really do think that not only was it just irresponsible on his part, I think he probably needed a lot of therapy to unpack why he felt the need to be around children as much as he was, because he wasn't being emotionally fulfilled by adults. And unfortunately, the time period that this happened, therapy wasn't as accepted or accessible as it is now. But that's just kind of my general analysis. Again, I'm probably going to make some people mad, but I do think it was avoidable entirely.